Hello and welcome to Fatboss Weekly, Season 2, Episode 13.
Hello.
And for the people who don't know, Fatboss Weekly is our weekly news show where we talk about a bunch of World of Warcraft news as well as any other gaming news that's important to us.
And talking of Warcraft news, Warlords of Draenor alpha testing is out.
Yes, as well as like a bunch of 6.0 patch notes. Like the last 24 hours has been absolutely nuts.
Yes, lots of stuff has happened. But before we go into Warlords of Draenor, we're going to talk about the Flex race we're doing on Monday.
Yes, we have got an event coming out on the 7th of April this month. It's going to be good fun. We're going to be doing a Flex race between the Alliance and the Horde. And it's all going to be done with the viewers. On
our live stream on Twitch, yeah. I'm representing the Horde.
I'm on the Alliance side. We're both going to be healing to try and make it fairly even. We're going to try and make fairly similar comps.
We're going to bring similar item levels. It's just going to be a laugh. If you are on European servers, then please do stop by. You're more than welcome to join us. Obviously, there's only 25 people in each group, so it's going to be hard fitting everyone in there, but we'll try our best to make it as fair as possible. We won't be remaking the groups like we usually do for each part. We're just going to burn through it. It's all going to be timed. The idea is who is better. Horde or Alliance.
So if you want to say Alliance is better, I'm going to bring the best Alliance player I've got, and then, oh no, Horde is better. So come represent your faction, you bastards. It's going to be good fun. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. So the times are on your screen now, 7th of April. Come along, it should be good.
So Warlords of Draenor alpha testing, as we mentioned,
has just been started apparently. Yeah, and I know that Watcher Dev on Twitter said don't look too much into the alpha part. We've already made a bunch of shit, so don't go too crazy into that. But the main thing that I was talking about in this new alpha testing is the new file system that they're using. They were using some old one, and now they're using some new one.
Yeah, they used the same file system for like 9 years or something, and now they've moved into this new file system, which is CASC.
Okay, me and Lawrence don't know shit about like file systems, and I'm sure a lot of you are like, why are you even talking about this? But they did say it has quite a lot of benefits to do with the actual game. And they mentioned that the file corruption, when you're like trying to, like they said, file repair tools are a thing of the past. The file structure maintains itself, helping to prevent errors during like installation and stuff like that. They said the real world game performance should be better as well, because it can load assets and stuff a lot more faster. And they said that the patch in the game should be a lot more like easy to do.
It should be just
reliable.
faster and more reliable, yeah.
So like pretty much everything is just better. Yeah. So it sounds good. I don't know if it actually means.
I think it's just the game moving into the future.
Yes.
So yeah, it's a good thing. But moving on to the notes themselves, there was actually a massive compilation essentially of all the different things that have been announced of Warlords of Draenor so far. So this post itself has got aspects of the Dev Watercaller posts. It's also got aspects of Warlords of Draenor information from BlizzCon. Yeah. But there's also a lot of new things in there.
Yeah, so we're going to kind of brush over the whole thing.
Yeah, we're just going to go through all the highlighted important stuff. And to start off, we're going to talk about the stat squish. Everyone knows how this works. They're just going to be nerfing it all by 90%. We've mentioned it on FatBoss Weekly hundreds of times. But they did make it slightly more clearer on exactly what their goal is with the stat squish. Is that they did mention it's no longer necessary for Borean Tundra quest gear to be nearly twice as powerful as Neverstorm quest gear, even though the two zones are only a couple of levels apart.
Because at the moment they are completely different because of the expansions, and of course they need to make it so you get like pretty good gear quickly after an expansion, but you don't need to do that for the old expansions anymore. They're just making everything smoothing out. They've got a graph and everything that shows it all, so yeah, we all know what's going to happen. Stat squish, it's not ruining the game, you don't need to worry.
Now the level 100 talents and all the perks you get from leveling from 91 to 99 are now readily available on websites such as Wowhead and on WowDB. There's links in the description. You guys can check them out. We're not going to talk about all the talents. There's so many different talents. But the information that was available is that the perks from 91 to 99, you'll earn 9 different perks in a random order.
So like as you level up, every time you level up you get a new perk, and it's not always going to be the same order for every single like sort of
at least
spec.
That's what I assume. Yeah, that's how it sounds.
So that sounds pretty cool to
And
be
they
honest.
did say that each class and specialization has 9 different sets of perks. The perks themselves aren't that interesting. They might change how you play your class slightly, but they're not massive. They're like, this spell has 1 second longer duration, or this spell has 1 second less cooldown, or do this spell 5 times and it makes this spell do more damage. Yeah. It's relatively small things. But again, these are all subject to change. Go look on the website, see what's happening with your class. Some of them are pretty damn interesting. But yeah, looking good.
Now, garrisons, Lawrence, you know, the big buildings, I've never even heard of them before until this post. I think like what they are is like a place that you can like make a house. And then in
Something
that house,
like that.
you could send people out. It's like, either way, what they've said, like they did talk about garrisons kind of overview a little bit, but the main like interesting thing they said is that they will begin your quest for your garrison in either Shadowmoon Valley or Frostfire Ridge, which is your like pretty much your starting zones.
Yeah, we knew from BlizzCon that these were the starting zones. They did say roughly 3 weeks ago that the garrisons are going to be very integral. They're going to be coming in very early in your leveling experience, and this just shows you how early it's going to be in your first starting zones.
Yeah.
So there we go.
Should be really good. I'm glad they put it in that early.
Now, one thing that they have put in the patch notes that we haven't really picked up anywhere else is that they're balancing the functionality between agility, strength, and intellect. And the way that they're doing that is because strength gives no crit, they're making it so agility and intellect no longer give you any crit at all. Every class now is going to have a 5% chance to crit as a base. That's just their base crit. However, rogues, hunters, feral druids and guardian druids, brewmasters and windwalker monks and enhancement shamans will get a new passive called critical strikes, which just gives you a 10% crit chance.
Yes, I'm not sure if that's adding on top of the 5%
I assume
base.
it is.
So
I assume it is.
Either way, I think that's a way of them combating, oh, look, yeah, sorry, we've removed it from agility, here's a little bit. But they haven't done anything for casters. Maybe they think casters don't particularly need it.
Well, what I think they'll do is that they'll make spell power slightly stronger.
Yeah, probably.
Than what it is now. But talking about how strong spell power is, attack power from agility and strength has now been nerfed to the ratio of 1-to-1 rather than 1-to-2. Mm-hmm. And all other sources of attack power, so like trinket procs, or even like buffs that you give yourself, whatever class you're playing, that has now been halved, so you're not going to give as much before as well. They've also made it so all weapon damage values is reduced by 20%.
However, what they've done to try and combat that is that they make it so attack power now increases weapon damage at a much better rate than before. Like, it's 1 to 3.5 attack power when it was like 1 to 14 before. So, like, the better gear you have, the more damage that your weapon will be doing and all that kind of stuff. So that's pretty good.
And essentially attack power, spell power, and weapon damage will now affect all healing or damage throughput of any player spells.
Yeah, so they're basically making it an intrinsic part of how you do everything, which is pretty goddamn cool.
Now, because of the changes to these stats, they also changed how strength and agility is going to work with dodge and parry for tanks. They said that active mitigation has worked well as a tanking model, so moving forward, we want to keep the amount of dodge and parry that tanks have on the low side, which I think is a good thing, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I can say for both of us, our tanking experience isn't great. I mean, I tanked a little bit in tier 14, but when I'm tanking, I like to feel like I'm in control of how much damage I'm taking, and with dodge and parry you don't have that. Dodge and parry is completely random. And this also means, as in their own words, they said, this helps us preventing encounters from causing very spiky damage on tanks, which generally isn't much fun. Dodge and parry gains from strength and agility are being reduced to accomplish this. Additionally, items in Warlords of Draenor will not have dodge and parry on them as a stat, we already knew.
Yeah.
But they did say that some dodge and parry can still be gained through class-specific effects, which we also already knew.
So yeah.
So the amount of dodge from agility has been reduced by 25%, and the amount of parry that's been gained by strength has also been reduced by 25%.
So to be honest, we already knew that dodge and parry were going to be nerfed like hard, so it's kind of good, to be honest. Yeah. If they keep pushing the active mitigation, it does kind of separate the lucky tanks from the good tanks. So yeah, hopefully that'll.
And they've also changed how Vengeance works.
Yes.
So you tanks, don't worry just yet. We'll talk about that when we get to it.
Now, did you know, Lawrence, they're removing hit and expertise?
I think we did know, yeah.
Yeah, we all knew that, but some interesting things has come out. They did say that everyone will have a 100% chance to hit, and they won't have any chance to be dodged. However, you still do have a 3% chance to be parried, so still stand behind the boss, melee, DPS, but you have no chance to glance as well, which is pretty good. This only counts when you're fighting creatures up to 3 levels higher, which includes bosses. They did say that tank specialization, so if you're in any tank spec, you can't be parried either. They reduce the amount of chance you can be parried by 3%, so you can never be parried. So all of your spells as a tank should always go off because you're always in front of the boss. Well, most of the time you are anyway, so that's really good. But one interesting thing they did say is that creatures 4 level higher than you still have a chance to avoid all of your shit. So if you're like level 1, you can't just go off the Blackrock Depths and try and solo it because you're going to miss all the time. So they're just making it so you can't just go do really dumb shit.
And it also means that potentially you can't level from 90 to 100 just by killing 97 or 98 mobs.
Yeah.
Athene style.
Yeah, because you're just going to bloody miss all the time.
Yeah, because you're going to miss all the time. Now, dual wielding still does impose the 17% chance to miss. That's from white hits only. That isn't from any spell effects.
So, like, as a rogue or anything like that, like, they're just making it so when you are dual wielding, it's just similar to, like, having two-handed. So, two-handed isn't absolutely terrible because, of course, all your white hits won't exactly hit, but all of your spells still will. So, you still don't have to worry about that.
Now, with hit and expertise going out the window, all items that currently have this stat, so gems, enchants, whatever, will be converted into critical strike, haste, or mastery.
I guess it'll be the one that's missing from that like thing. So if you got a crit hit, I doubt it's going to double roll crit. Even though that'll be really good for some classes. That'll be really funny, actually. But yeah, we'll have to see how exactly they do that.
Now, we talked about it a couple of weeks ago, and it is also in this post. They talked about the racial changes to all the different races so that they have more balance. That's what they want to do. They just want to make it so their combat performance is similar, but without nerfing some of the unique things that you gain from it. So, you know, trolls will still have their berserking, but it is nerfed, and other classes will have other passives that make it so they do as much damage as trolls with their berserking.
Yeah,
I think that's the general plan. But yeah, we talked about it before. We're not going to go through all these changes. Some of them have actually been changed since we last talked about them. But if you want to go see them, you can see them in the post. Link is in the description with all this stuff.
Now, if you actually go into a part of the post, it's incredibly scary, Lawrence. I read through it and I was like, oh my god, what's going on? Pretty much all classes have had loads of abilities removed. They did say that they are going to be like ability pruning, as they said, like cutting off the extra abilities that are like a bit shit, like the ones that you don't really use that much, or the ones that like you don't really need to worry about. They're just kind of getting rid of them. To cut down on like having too many buttons, too many keybinds, because to be honest, some classes it is a little bit silly, but don't go in there and think that your class is going to be fine. I looked at hunters. It seems like hunters are just going to be like either right-clicking or going AFK.
Because they removed all of your abilities.
Pretty much. It's like, so what am I doing now? So,
but to be fair, they're being reworked, hunters.
Exactly.
They just haven't said anything about new spells.
So you don't need to, like, when you go in there and say, where the fuck are all my abilities? I'm pretty sure Blizzard know that you do need abilities, so don't worry about it too much, everyone. Don't get your pitchforks out yet. We'll have to see on the beta exactly how everything's going to work, but they are just letting you know what's going to be kicked out. So it's really quite interesting, definitely worth a little bit of a look through them all.
And there was also the mention, of course, of all the CC changes in PvP. That was talked about in the first Dev Watercaller post that we covered. Nothing has really changed.
Yeah.
But it's there nonetheless if you want to go check that out. But one interesting thing is Vengeance has now been redesigned and renamed Resolve.
Yeah, so Resolve does not increase the amount of damage that you do like it does now. It doesn't give you a shit ton of attack power like Vengeance does. What it does now is it increases your self-healing and absorption effects based on the amount of damage you take. About fucking time.
Yeah.
About fucking time, because tanks with Vengeance doing more damage than most of the DPS in some of the fights in Siege of Orgrimmar. And even before that, Throne of Thunder, I remember Paladins just going all the way top of the meters all the time. Vengeance was completely unnecessary for them to hold threat, because you have the 500% threat boost, so it's about time they get rid of Vengeance. And I think this is a really good way of making it so you still have something where you take a lot of damage.
Although you say that, this may upset some tanks.
Oh.
Because some tanks...
Poor tanks.
Such empathy. There are some tanks that do like to do damage. I know in our guild there are tanks who are like really like to do damage. So I don't know how much this is going to affect some people. Some people may re-roll because they just don't like these changes. But I think this is going to make tanking more skillful.
Yes.
Rather than just, look how much damage I'm taking. I just fucking hit this button and hit the boss for 50 mil. You know? All that sort of shit should go out the window. But what they said is that we're going to remove the offensive value of Vengeance, but preserve the defensive value by making it increase your effectiveness of your active mitigation buttons instead of attack power. So Resolve, as Alex said, increases your healing and absorption done to yourself, and this is based on stamina and damage taken before avoidance and mitigation in the last 10 seconds. Now, because they are completely removing Vengeance and you don't get the damage buff, they are actually buffing the damage on tank spells anyway.
Yeah.
So it sort of makes up for it, but it's not going to make up for it a hell of a lot. The buffs aren't that significant. So they said we're increasing the damage of several prominent tank abilities, as well as having tanks also gain increased attack power from Mastery, in addition to the stats' existing benefits. That also helps secondary stats balanced in the offensive value for them.
Yeah, so you can kind of stack Mastery and do a bit more damage than you expect, but I doubt it's going to be anywhere near as crazy as it is now.
Yeah, by the sounds of it, they just don't want tanks to do as much damage as DPS, but they still want them to be kind of important.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, if you are playing a tank, I mean, if you take it back to, like, I don't know, like Wrath times, tanks just did no damage. Yeah. Like, literally no damage. I mean, healers could almost out-damage tanks. Back then.
Probably.
But it doesn't look like they want to take it that far back. They want to just try and make it so tanks are bottom of meters, but not by a lot. Which I think is the right way of doing it.
Now, a weird thing that they're doing is that they're changing facing requirements, as in, like, where you need to be standing in, like, relation to someone in order to do effects. like so like in backstabbing or all that kind of weird stuff. So what they said is that strict facing requirements can be frustrating to deal with, especially in hectic raid combat or PvP environments. In order to ease this frustration, we've decided to remove or significantly loosen the facing requirements of all attacks that required the player to be behind their targets. A couple of the examples that they said was that Druid Shred no longer requires a druid to be behind their target in order to do the ability. Same with Ambush for rogues. And they said with rogues, when they're in subtlety spec, with backstab, it can now be used on either side of the target, and like as well as behind them, so you can kind of be a little bit further around. I'm not really sure what I think about this.
Yeah, I'm not sure what I think about this. I don't play melee DPS anyway. I mean, you do, so you have more input than I, but...
Sometimes it's annoying, like on the pool, like as a rogue on the pool, you're supposed to pre-pop, go in stealth, shadow step, and ambush, right? But if the boss suddenly turns around and like it's like there's 100 melee in like, and there's all these spell effects going off, it's like you can't sometimes even tell which way the boss is facing. It's like, where is it? But that's because I'm pretty inexperienced as a melee, I think. So to be honest, I can see why they put it in for PvP. It makes PvP easier, a hell of a lot easier.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
And to be honest, with the backstab change especially, I can see why it's good in for PvE, because some fights you can't even go subtlety because you can't get behind the boss properly.
Yeah.
So that's really nice as well. But I don't know, it seems like they're just kind of making the game a bit easier. I'm not really sure if it's any good or not. We'll have to see, to be honest. It kind of removes a bit of the skill cap, you know?
Yeah, slightly. I think so.
So I'm not.
But I don't think it's a massive deal. I don't think it's a huge change. Maybe for PvP, but not so much for PvE. Now, another quality of life change, if you want to call it that, is that they're reducing the mana cost of Resurrection.
Yes.
So it's quicker to res people. Right now, the base mana of res is too high. It's actually really low for priests. It's 4%. But they're making it so all other classes, their base mana cost of the spell is also 4%. So it means you're now going to recover from a wipe far quicker.
That's good.
I actually like that.
Yeah, it doesn't make any
because
difference.
right now it's literally mass res or run.
Yeah, very much.
Whereas this is going to be, well, maybe you can actually res people.
Yeah, so...
I mean, it doesn't necessarily make the cast times quicker, but for example, if you want your paladin tank to res people...
You can like do one or two.
He can do 1 or 2 reses and that's it.
Yeah, then he has to drink.
Exactly.
So,
yeah, so this should make it a little bit quicker. And moving away from that, professions they tackled.
Yes.
What they're planning on doing with professions is that they will no longer have any combat benefit perks attached to them, which makes me worry about engineering.
Yeah.
Because engineering, not only does it obviously give you like a damage increase from like your gloves and whatnot, it also brings a lot of utility with a cloak and with rocket boots. If that means that they can no longer use them in combat or not, I don't know. But their plan was essentially, in their own words, was that our goals with professions in Warlords of Draenor is to make them more of a personal choice and less of a mandatory min-max selection. And to that end, we're removing the direct combat benefits of professions. So they're going to be removing sockets for blacksmiths, they're going to be removing ring enchants for enchanters, tailors will lose their cloak enchant, that sort of thing.
To be honest, I think that's a really nice change.
Great change, because right now it is important that you do have the right professions for raiding, because they do actually make a big difference.
Yeah, so say like if you're a rogue or something, you can't go ahead and be like a mining and herbalism.
No,
if you want to be the best that you can possibly be. If like you want to go and like get the engineering and I don't know, like blacksmithing or something like that, so something with really nice stats. But now it doesn't even matter, so it's a much more of a personal choice. So you can actually like gather as well as raid hardcore, so that's really, really nice.
They also said, additionally, we've made it easier to level mining and herbalism.
Yay!
Which is a good thing, I suppose. And they also said that healing potions have gone mostly unused lately compared to combat stat potions. So, you know, you'll be using your int.
Yeah,
you'll be using your agility pots, your int pots on the pool, and then again during the fight. To solve that problem, they've decided to make it so health pots and health stones share the same cooldown, and health pots don't share the cooldown with like int or strength or agility pots.
I think that's really nice. So it means that, like, say if you're not going to be doing mythic raiding or whatever, you don't need to bring your warlock. You don't have to have a warlock in your group anymore because you know
you can just use your health pot instead.
Yeah, exactly.
Because health pots, literally, if you have them now, you just bin them.
Yeah,
straight away. I can't even remember the last time I used the health pot.
Yeah, neither here. So yeah, at least that's actually something that you can use now, and it's actually any good. So that's a really nice change, I think.
And they did say that the health pot will have a 60-second cooldown as well as the health stone, but you can only use it once per combat.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
So there we go. That's all sorted out now.
And to talk about the mining and herbalism, how it's going to work is that you'll be able to harvest the herbs and mine the nodes at any like skill level. But the higher your skill level is, the more you will harvest.
So yeah, to say that you're like mining ghost iron, or you might get like, say you're level 1 at mining, you might like get little ghost iron fragments, and once you get 10 of them, you can put it into one ghost iron, or I imagine they'll do something similar with herbalism. So this means that you don't have to go back all the way back when and like farm copper ore, and then oh wait, copper ore's terrible now, I've got to move on to the next place, and then the next place, and now you can just go YOLO and go straight in. So to be honest, that's a bit of a quality of life change. Yeah,
good change. And to finish off the post, the biggest thing that is probably most interesting to the majority of you guys watching now is that they've done a massive list of all the class changes. They've done a complete overhaul. They've changed so many abilities and changed how so many things are working, which is kind of interesting considering they said they didn't want to change much about classes. Yeah. And some of the things they are changing fundamentally changes the classes completely. Right. So we're not going to go through them all here because there is so many. Again, the link is in the description if you want to go look at them. But the most interesting one, Shaman, come on, Wind Fury no longer has a 3-second internal cooldown. I'm re-rolling enhancement, man.
So what, you can
I'm going two-handed enhancement.
What, just for like the one hits? Like back in vanilla, get yourself a full
I don't know if you can
high Warlord set.
I don't know if you're Wind Fury off Wind Fury, and then Wind Fury off Storm Strike, and then Wind Fury off that Wind Fury, or that Wind Fury off that Storm Strike melee hit.
I don't know, man. If you can Wind Fury off Wind Fury, you could officially, like, you could, in theory, just one-hit the boss.
Potentially.
It'd be like a taser. It's a weapon with 0.0 cast time.
I think that change is fantastic. But yeah, we'll have to see how that all works out. Again, guys, go check them out. Fucking amazing. So moving away from that post,
it's a long post.
All the changes, a lot of information there. Challenge mode, end of season warning, version 2. Right. We talked about this, what was it, about 2 months ago, maybe a month ago. They did talk about how when 6.0 does hit live, the challenge mode, current achievements will become feat of strengths, and you will no longer be able to sign to the challenge modes or even get the rewards from challenge modes. They've given us a little bit of an update and another warning, of course. They still haven't given us a release date of 6.0, but they've told us exactly what you get from the rewards once the patch does hit. So Bronze, if you do all the challenge modes in Bronze, you will get the Undaunted title. That title will become account-wide, which it is already, actually, I think. For Silver, the Panda and Phoenix mounts, which are currently 1 per character. So if you get like the blue one on character A, you can't use the blue one on character B.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know
Whereas
that.
now they're making it so they're all account-wide.
Okay, that's good.
And it isn't just for one, it's for all the mounts. So you don't need to farm Silver on 4 different characters, get 4 different mounts. Just do it once, get 1 mount, and you'll get all mounts on all characters.
Oh, right, okay.
For Gold, the full cosmetic class sets will still remain class specific, and any character that has earned all 9 gold medals will still be able to repurchase the appropriate set. So if you do delete yours by accident or whatever, you still will be able to go buy them from the guy in Veil of Eternal Blossoms. And any character that does have the gold for each individual instance will also keep the spell teleport to those particular instances, which I think is really, really interesting. And they also did say with Realm Best titles that there are extremely limited titles that are held by players who hold the best clear time for a given dungeon on a given server. Since those challenge dungeons will no longer be available in Warlords of Draenor, their respective titles are also being permanently removed, and there will be new challenge dungeons in upcoming Warlord season, and new titles for which to contend for.
Okay, so they're removing the old titles, and they're making it so there's new ones.
Yeah, but you will keep your titles.
Yeah, so if you have got the Realm Best, by the time that the server's shut down, you should be keeping your titles. So, grats, yo, nice.
But yeah, again, go to your challenge mode, guys. You probably don't have that long now.
Yeah, well, you probably got a couple months at best. So get on with it.
Well, no, you got longer than that.
Yeah, probably.
You probably got 5 months.
Get on with it still. So Battle.net, you know, the desktop app thing that's like, it's really fucking useful. I think.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good,
the game. But now you can actually chat with it instead of having to keep logging into a game to chat with people.
Yeah, the chat was actually released with it when it first came out. However, it was never enabled for whatever reason. I'm guessing some sort of security issue. But now it works.
Yay!
So you can now speak to people.
Yeah, so you can both be out of game and still talk to each other through the Battle.net app, as well as talk to people in different. Like you can be out of game and talk to people in game through the Battle.net app as well. So that's pretty nice.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I think it's very, very good.
So wonderful news. Now, moving on to the part of the show, we look at our mail.
You guys know how it works. Send us your mail on Facebook, Twitter, and on Twitch. Send us your art, send us your questions, send us whatever you like, and there's a chance you will be featured in next week's show.
And the first one comes in from Nikolai on Facebook, who says, I know it's not Christmas, but I thought the letter a couple weeks ago regarding FatBoss as a raid encounter was so good, it inspired me to make an obvious mount drop from a heroic boss. started out as a horse, but it somehow ended up as a reindeer. So obviously, FatBoss had to be in a Santa costume as well. That's a pretty fucking good picture, and that's like an amazing explanation.
I fucking love this picture, man.
It is very, very good. Thank you so much.
I want this on a
man.
t-shirt.
It would be really cool. So yeah, thank you so much for that. It's very cool.
The next one comes in from Dat Ace of Spades on Twitch, who said, "You previously said on a stream how you find 10-man raiding harder than 25-man raiding. Being a 10-man raider myself, I was wondering which you find more enjoyable to play. In addition, as we move into Mythic being the top tier raiding Warlords of Draenor, I wanted to get your opinions on a larger raider environment, being as you have participated in both. Many thanks for your amazing streams and YouTube content. Keep up the great work." Thanks a lot for the question, dude.
So 10 versus 25-man raiding. I think we can summarize it quite quickly. That 25-man raiding really just gives you so many more options, and that like kind of allows you to cheese the fights. Like this argument is becoming less and less relevant with Mythic raiding coming out.
Yeah.
But I still think it's important to talk about because it just seems for 25-man, more people can make mistakes. There's more things to cover for those mistakes, and therefore it doesn't really matter as much. Whereas as 10-man, a lot of the time, if one person dies, then you're on progression. That is, if one person dies, it's game over. You might as well restart.
I mean, the argument for 25-man raiding, in my opinion at least, 25-man raiding is harder because you need to find 25 people who are diligent.
Yeah.
Whereas in 10-man, you only have to find 10 people that are diligent. But if both of you have a full roster of diligent players, 25-man is easier.
Yeah.
Because in 25-man, you have more players to use more cooldowns on the exact same amount of abilities that the bosses throw out at the exact same times as 10-man.
Yeah.
So as an example, Garrosh and 10-man Heroic.
It's harder, a lot.
It's harder because you can't use a cooldown every single well. On 25-man, on every single well, you can use one Aura Mastery, one Smoke Bomb, and if you have enough Death Knights, you can use Anti-Magic Zone. Yeah. And that doesn't even include any cooldowns from healers. Whereas on 10-man, you can't do that.
No.
No fucking way can you do that.
So yeah, it is fundamentally like harder on 10-man. But the thing is, that's what Blizzard have been saying. They're like, yeah, we can't really make these fights balanced at all in any way, shape, or form. Let's just merge it together for 20-man Mythic. So in all fairness, like I think most people would agree with you that 10-man is harder mechanically and everything in comparison to 25-man. The hard thing about 25-man is the 25 people.
Yeah.
So it's really what you find most difficult about the game.
But in terms of what I find more enjoyable to play, I personally prefer 10-man. I find 10-man better because not only do I think it's more of a challenge, but you're playing with less people. 25 to me is not my sweet spot. That's too many people. You can't really be playing on a personal level with that many people.
Yeah.
Whereas in 10-man, you can get to know each other a lot better. There's far less people who are talking. I just prefer it. Yeah. It's just a better environment, in my opinion. And I'm sure you'll agree. But as sort of giving our opinions on a larger raiding environment, it's kind of hard to say. I mean, I wouldn't... When we first went to 25-man, after we, as soon as Mythic was announced, our guild literally went from 10 to 25 within a week.
Yeah, you merged, didn't you?
Yeah, we merged like instantly, and then you joined.
Yes, then I joined.
And to be honest, I was dreading 25-man. I thought this is going to be shit. My computer's not going to cope. There's going to be all these people that I can't be able to listen to. But it wasn't actually that bad, but I think we have a good bunch of people in our guild, so I think that kind of helped. But if you do decide to go to a larger environment, I think you need to be very patient with it. You need to give it quite a lot of time and get used to it. And obviously 25-man, there's so much more loot that drops as well, which is kind of a nice bonus.
And Warforged, man. Oh, the Warforged.
Yeah, Warforged all over the place. So, I don't know. I prefer a smaller raid team than a larger raid team. Is Mythic going to be the hot spot with 20? Probably not. I think the best is still 10, in my opinion.
Well, we'll have to see, to be honest.
But we have to see, yeah.
So thank you very much for watching, guys. Make sure that you do tune in on Twitch on the Monday the 7th for our flex race between Alliance and the Horde. Make sure you do come along and show who is best. I think even though I'm playing as Alliance, I think Horde will probably win.
Yeah, well, obviously.
I don't know.
I'm healing.
I find that Alliance is going to win. Don't prove me wrong. Bring on the Alliance. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, guys. Make sure that you do send your mail in for next week's show through Facebook, Twitch, or Twitter.
And links are all in the description.
Yep, and we will see you next time.
Thanks for watching.
Thank you.